The mahogany jewelry box sits open on my mother's dresser, its velvet lining a deep burgundy that reminds me of the wine we'll serve tonight at her 60th birthday dinner. My fingers hover over the empty space where the Mitchell family necklace should rest, 5 sapphires set in silver, that has graced the neck of every firstborn daughter since my great-grandmother's time. Laughter drifts up from the living room, the sound incongruously light as my hands begin to tremble. A small cream-colored card lies beside the empty box. I pick it up, my breath catching as I read the elegant script. For Lydia. To continue our family legacy. For Lydia. My younger sister. Not me, Nova, the firstborn daughter. I step back, my heel catching on the edge of the oriental rug, nearly sending me sprawling. The sounds from downstairs grow louder, glasses clinking, my father's booming laugh, my mother's delicate titter. I move toward the hallway, drawn by voices that suddenly seem sharper, clearer. We'll present it to Lydia this weekend, my mother says, at the lakeside brunch. Perfect timing, my father replies. She deserves something special after landing that gallery showing. I freeze at the top of the stairs, one hand gripping the banister until my knuckles turn white. The conversation continues, unaware of my presence. She's always been the one who truly embodies the heart of this family, my father says, his voice warm with pride. The necklace belongs with her. The words slice through me like a blade. I've spent 29 years as the responsible one, the achiever, while Lydia flitted from passion to passion. And now they're giving her the necklace that grandmother promised would be mine. An image surfaces from childhood, me, at 10 years old, bouncing on my toes as I clutched a brochure for the Science Museum's new exhibit. Please, can we go Saturday? I'd begged, only to have my enthusiasm dismissed when Lydia wanted to visit her friend's horse ranch instead. My parents never even pretended to consider my request. The horses will be good for both of you, Mother had said, her decision already made. That same dismissal followed me through every dinner table conversation. My law school acceptance warranted a brief, "That's nice, dear," before they turned to celebrate Lydia's participation in a local art fair. My first major case win earned a distracted nod, while Lydia's pottery class enrollment prompted a champagne toast. The memory hardens something inside me. I descend the stairs, my footsteps deliberately heavy on each step. The conversation in the living room halts as I enter. "Nova," my mother says, her smile tightening at the corners. "We were just discussing the weekend plans." "Were you?" I lock eyes with her. "I thought you were discussing grandmother's necklace, the one she specifically said would go to the firstborn daughter. To me." The room falls silent. My father sets down his drink with a sharp click against the coffee table. Lydia studies her manicure with sudden interest. "Traditions change, Nova." Mother waves her hand dismissively. "You've never cared about family sentiments anyway." The accusation lands like a physical blow. Years of trying to earn their approval, of preserving family photographs, of remembering birthdays and anniversaries, when everyone else forgot, all erased with one careless statement. "I've always cared," I say, my voice steady despite the hollow ache spreading through my chest. "You just never noticed." My parents exchange worried glances, a silent communication developed over decades of marriage. Father clears his throat, shifting into what I recognize as his problem-solving posture, head tilted slightly, hands clasped before him. "Lydia needs this more than you do," he explains, his tone reasonable, measured. "You're already successful. You have your career, your condo. Lydia could use this connection to her heritage." I stare at him, truly seeing for the first time how they've crafted a narrative where my accomplishments somehow make me less deserving of their traditions, their affection. The painful truth settles over me. By succeeding on my own, I've given them permission to exclude me entirely. "I see," I say quietly. I turn and walk away, climbing the stairs to the guest room that was once my childhood bedroom, now redecorated with generic furniture and beige walls. I close the door softly behind me, skipping dinner entirely. Hours pass. No one comes to check on me. The celebration continues downstairs without interruption, laughter occasionally rising through the floorboards like a cruel reminder that I am, and perhaps have always been, an afterthought in my own family. The morning sun slants through the blinds of my childhood home, casting accusatory fingers of light across the polished oak floor of my father's study. I shouldn't be in here. The door was ajar when I passed, and something pulled me in the same instinct that makes you probe a sore tooth with your tongue. Father's desk stands immaculate as always, leather blotter precisely centered, fountain pens arranged by size. I run my fingers along the mahogany bookshelf, hesitating at a burgundy leather album I've never seen before. Gold lettering catches the light. Family treasures. My hands act before my mind gives permission, pulling the album from its place. The leather feels cool and substantial as I carry it to the desk chair. When I open the cover, my breath stops. There's Lydia, 16 years old, wearing grandmother's pearl earrings at her birthday dinner. Lydia at 18, grandmother's silver bracelet adorning her wrist at graduation. Lydia at 21, grandmother's ruby ring glinting on her right hand during last Christmas. The ruby ring promised to me when I turned 30. My fingers tremble as I flip through pages documenting years of quiet redistribution. Each photograph meticulously labeled with dates and occasions, creating an undeniable timeline of systematic favoritism. What are you doing in here? I snap the album closed, my heart thundering against my ribs as my mother stands in the doorway, her expression shifting from surprise to thinly veiled annoyance. The ruby ring? I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Grandmother specifically told me it would be mine when I turned 30. Mother waves her hand dismissively. That was years ago. Lydia needed something special for her art school graduation. You understand. I always understand. I always accommodate. I always step aside. When were you planning to tell me? I ask, opening the album to the Christmas photo. Or were you hoping I wouldn't notice until after you'd given away everything grandmother intended for me? Before she can answer, voices drift from the kitchen. I tuck the album under my arm and follow the sound, mother trailing behind with whispered protests I choose to ignore. The kitchen island forms the center of a tableau that stops me cold in the doorway. Aunt Martha perches on a stool, gesturing animatedly while Uncle James nods. Cousin Bethany leans against the counter, scrolling through her phone. My father stands at the coffee maker, and Lydia sits centered among them, the undisputed focus of their attention. Nova. Father acknowledges with a quick glance. We thought you were still sleeping. Clearly, I reply, the album heavy in my hands. Aunt Martha brightens. We were just discussing the lakeside brunch this weekend, the perfect setting for Lydia to wear the necklace. And a good opportunity to talk about grandmother's china, Uncle James adds. The pattern will complement Lydia's dining room beautifully. The china. Another family treasure I hadn't realized was already allocated in my absence. Interesting, I say, maintaining composure through sheer will. When was this decided? An uncomfortable silence settles over the kitchen. Bethany looks up from her phone, suddenly interested. We had a family meeting last month, Uncle James explained slowly. We voted on several of the remaining heirlooms. A family meeting, I repeat, that I wasn't invited to. You were in court that week, Father says, not quite meeting my eyes. We didn't want to bother you with something so trivial. Trivial. The word lands like a slap. I see, I say, placing the album on the counter. And what else have you decided was too trivial to include me in? No one answers. Lydia studies her coffee mug, tracing its rim with one perfectly manicured finger. This has nothing to do with excluding you. Mother says, finally. You've built your own life, your own success. These family pieces mean more to Lydia. The truth hits with stunning clarity. My independence, my achievements, the very things I pursued, hoping for their approval, have become their justification for erasing me from our family legacy. Later, I climb the narrow stairs to the attic, needing to confirm what I already suspect. The space feels smaller than I remember, heavy with dust and forgotten memories. Cardboard boxes labeled Nova Childhood are stacked neatly in the far corner, while a single plastic bin contains my high school awards and college mementos. The contrast couldn't be more stark. Downstairs, Lydia's bedroom remains preserved like a museum exhibit, her teenage posters still on the walls, her childhood stuffed animals arranged on the window seat, her school artwork framed and displayed. My history has been condensed, compressed, and relegated to the margins of the family narrative. I retreat to the small home office tucked behind the kitchen, closing the door for privacy. Family photographs line the shelves, but I notice now what I've been blind to before, how I stand at the edges in every frame, while Lydia occupies the center. How my parents lean toward her, their body language speaking volumes about where their affection naturally flows. Was I ever truly seen in this family, or merely tolerated? As I turn to leave, a cream-colored envelope catches my eye, wedged between two books on the lowest shelf. My name is written across the front in grandmother's distinctive script. Inside, I find a single sheet of her personal stationery, the letter dated just months before her death. My dearest Nova, it begins. The Mitchell family necklace has passed from mother to eldest daughter for 4 generations. When the time comes, this tradition will continue with you. Regardless of what others may say or do, remember that you are the rightful heir to this legacy. Your quiet strength reminds me so much of myself at your age. Never doubt your place in this family's history. I pressed the letter to my chest, grandmother's words a balm to wounds I've only just begun to acknowledge. As I held grandmother's letter in my hands, I wondered if I should confront my family with this evidence immediately or wait to build a stronger case for myself. Speaking up might force recognition, but patience might reveal how far this pattern truly extended. What would you do when faced with a lifetime of invisible exclusion? On Monday morning, after the weekend brunch I wasn't invited to, the Instagram notification chimes as I'm halfway through my morning coffee. I tap the screen and there she is, Lydia, head tilted just so, sapphires gleaming against her collarbone. The Mitchell family necklace catches the light perfectly, as if even the sun conspires to highlight her victory. So blessed to carry on our family legacy, her caption reads. The words burn into my retinas like acid. I scroll through the comments, each one a fresh cut. Absolutely stunning. You wear it beautifully. Mother's bridge partner. Mitchell women and their jewels. Name a more iconic duo. Cousin Bethany. Gorgeous. Just like your grandmother would have wanted. Aunt Martha. Then one comment stops my scrolling finger cold. Wasn't this meant for Nova? Thinking of you. Nova. Margaret Holloway, my former debate team partner from high school. She remembered. Someone noticed. My phone rings. Mother's name flashes on the screen. Nova, darling. Her voice drips with honey-coated steel. Have you seen Lydia's post? I have. My voice sounds hollow, even to my own ears. Well, you really should comment. People are starting to ask questions, and it's creating quite the awkward situation for all of us. What would you like me to say, Mother? I ask, pressing my palm flat against the cool granite countertop to steady myself. Just something supportive. You look beautiful, sis, or so happy for you. Family harmony is so important, don't you think? Family harmony. As if I'm the one disrupting their perfect tableau. I'll think about it, I say, ending the call before she can press further. Later that evening, while searching for a particular email, I stumble across my father's travel itinerary, forwarded to the family group email, that still includes me, probably by mistake. Mitchell family Lake Tahoe vacation, the 16th of August, -23. Next week. No invitation had come my way. Sleep becomes my enemy over the following days. I lie awake at 3 a.m., staring at my ceiling, mentally flipping through a lifetime of small betrayals now casting longer shadows. The Science Museum versus the Horse Ranch. Law school acceptance versus pottery class. My first major case win versus Lydia's community art show participation. I rise from bed and pull out an old storage box from my closet. Inside are birthday cards with hastily scrawled signatures, family photos where I stand slightly apart, text messages responding to my accomplishments with, "That's nice. Dear," while Lydia's announcements warrant multiple exclamation points and heart emojis. By morning, I've started a spreadsheet documenting each instance, dates spanning back to childhood. The data tells a story clearer than my memory alone, a pattern so consistent it could only be deliberate. I revisit Lydia's Instagram post, drawn to Margaret's comment like a bruise I can't stop pressing. The simple acknowledgement brings unexpected tears. Someone else had noticed. The validation feels both precious and pathetic, that after 29 years, recognition from a former classmate could matter so much. Sunday dinner arrives with its predictable choreography. Mother serves her signature apple pie, my recipe, perfected during law school when baking became my stress relief. The recipe she now claims as a family tradition passed down from her mother. Nova, you've barely touched your food. Father observes, fork poised halfway to his mouth. Still upset about the necklace? I thought we'd moved past that. Did we? I ask quietly. I don't recall actually discussing it. Father sets down his fork with deliberate care. You've never shown interest in family traditions, Nova. Why start now? The familiar accusation hangs in the air, but something has shifted inside me. The spreadsheet of data points. Margaret's comment. The vacation planned without me. I've shown interest my entire life, I say. my voice steady despite the drumming of my heart. You've just never valued what I care about. Mother's wine glass freezes halfway to her lips. Lydia suddenly finds her napkin fascinating. That's simply not true, Father sputters. We've always supported. My accomplishments? Yes, with obligatory congratulations. My interests? No. My place in this family? Absolutely not. Each word feels like stepping onto solid ground after years of quicksand. Nova, you're being dramatic, Mother interjects, but her voice lacks conviction. Am I? Then explain why Lydia received grandmother's necklace despite her specific wishes. Explain the Lake Tahoe vacation. I wasn't invited to. Explain why you're serving my apple pie recipe as if you created it. The silence stretches, thick and uncomfortable. In that moment, I realize how completely my life has been shaped by seeking their approval, my career choice, my condo location, even my restrained demeanor. All calibrated to earn the love they reserved for Lydia. 3 days later, Margaret and I sit across from each other at a corner table in Westside Coffee. Her laugh lines deepen as she describes her own family's dynamics. My brother was the golden child until he wasn't, she says. The day I stopped seeking their validation was the day I started living. When I begin explaining my family situation, she doesn't interrupt like my parents would. She nods, asks thoughtful questions, and mirrors my concerns without dismissing them. Have you considered talking to someone professionally? She asks after I describe the vacation revelation. A therapist, you mean? It helped me separate my worth from their perception, she says simply. Walking back to my condo afterward, I notice my posture has changed. My shoulders no longer curl inward as if preparing for the next disappointment. I reach for my phone and schedule an appointment with Dr. Wilson, the therapist my colleague mentioned months ago. That evening, I organize my evidence methodically, photos spanning decades, text messages, diary entries from my teens. In a folder marked Mitchell Family Legacy, I place grandmother's letter specifying her wishes for the necklace. Beside it, I add a recent discovery from the attic, her leather-bound journal with detailed entries about family heirlooms and her intentions for their distribution. My phone chimes with a text message. Lydia, we need to talk, alone. I stare at the screen, finger hovering over the reply button, aware that whatever comes next will fundamentally change our relationship forever. The coffee shop buzzes with Saturday morning activity, the scent of espresso hanging in the air like a promise of clarity. I arrived 20 minutes early to secure the corner table. 2 armchairs angled toward each other with enough space between for my leather messenger bag. My folder of evidence rests on my lap, closed but present. Lydia enters, 15 minutes late, her auburn hair catching the light as she scans the room. When she spots me, her smile blooms with the practiced confidence of someone accustomed to forgiveness. She drapes her designer cardigan over the chair before sitting. Sorry, I'm running behind, Nova. Traffic on the bridge was ridiculous. She reaches for my hand across the table. I don't extend mine to meet hers. Instead, I maintain steady eye contact, my spine straight against the chair back. I ordered black coffee for you, I say, nodding toward the untouched mug. No sugar, no cream the way she's taken it since college. A small detail I've always remembered about her. Lydia's confident smile falters, just slightly. She's used to me accommodating her tardiness, filling conversations with pleasantries, until she decides we can address the actual purpose of our meeting. So, she says, wrapping both hands around the mug without drinking, I assume this is about Mom's birthday party. It's about far more than that, I reply, my voice quiet but firm. The couple at the next table gathers their things and leaves. Perfect timing. Look, Nova. Lydia leans forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I know you're upset about the necklace, but you've never shown interest in family traditions. You're just jealous of everything I have. The accusation ignites something in me. Slowly, deliberately, I open the folder and arrange its contents between us. Years of family photographs with Lydia centered, me at the edges. Holiday cards featuring her accomplishments, mine footnoted or omitted. Text messages from our parents canceling plans with me when Lydia needed something. Grandmother's letter about the necklace tradition. This isn't about jealousy, I say, tapping the chronologically arranged evidence. This is about a pattern spanning 29 years. Lydia's defensiveness crumbles as she flips through the pages. Her fingers tremble when she reaches the photo from my law school graduation, our parents looking at their phones while I received my diploma, followed by a picture taken hours later of them beaming beside Lydia at her pottery exhibition that same weekend. I didn't, she begins, then stops. I never saw it all laid out like this. You never needed to see it, I reply. You were experiencing the other side. The cafe grows quieter around us as the morning rush subsides. Lydia stares at the documents, her expression shifting from disbelief to recognition. What do you want from me now? She asks finally, her voice small. I hesitate, the question catching me off guard. What do I want? The necklace that should rightfully be mine according to family tradition? Or is acknowledging this lifelong pattern of favoritism more important for my healing? Material items can be replaced, but could recognition of decades of invisibility? I need to think about that, I answer honestly. Later that evening, I sat in Margaret's living room, Dr. Wilson present as well, the pattern of exclusion laid out again, this time for supportive eyes. You handled that beautifully, Margaret says, refilling my glass of Pinot Noir. Standing your ground without escalating. Dr. Wilson nods in agreement. Setting boundaries isn't about winning or punishing. It's about establishing what you'll accept moving forward. We spend the next hour crafting language for the message I'll send my parents. Dr. Wilson suggests phrases that state facts without accusation. Meanwhile, at home, Margaret helps me practice responding to predictable defenses. Remember, you're requesting a family meeting, not permission, Dr. Wilson reminds me. Your condo, your terms. The weight on my shoulders lightens. Whatever happens, I have support that doesn't depend on my performance or accomplishments. People who see me. At home, I send the message requesting a formal family meeting at my condo next Saturday. Within minutes, my phone rings my parents. I let it go to voicemail. They call again. And a third time before I finally answer. Nova. My father's voice carries an unfamiliar edge of anxiety. We should discuss this over dinner at our house tomorrow. No, I reply calmly. Saturday at my condo, as I suggested. This really isn't necessary. My mother cuts in, her voice tight with forced pleasantness. We can sort this out informally. Saturday, I repeat, my place. A text from Aunt Martha arrives while I'm still on the call. Just heard about the necklace situation. Your grandmother would be livid. Call me. Uncle James emails shortly after. Nova, been thinking about some of the family decisions made when you weren't around. Happy to share what I remember. Happy to share. My parents fall silent when I mention these messages. Their control is slipping. Fine, my father finally says. Saturday. As I end the call, I catch my reflection in the window, shoulders back, chin lifted. For the first time, I'm not seeking their approval. I'm demanding their respect. On Saturday, I arranged the living room with meticulous care. Photos of my law school graduation, condo closing day, and weekend hikes with Margaret line the mantel. No family portraits. The message is clear without saying a word. I have built a life without them. The doorbell chimes exactly at noon. Mother enters first, her perfume arriving before she does. Father follows, his eyes scanning my condo with the appraising look he reserves for property investments. Lydia trails behind, clutching her designer purse like a shield. Your place looks professional, Mother says, her gaze sliding past the framed certificate of excellence from the Virginia Bar Association. She settles on my sofa, back rigid, knees pressed together beneath her taupe skirt. Father places a small gift bag on my coffee table. We brought something for you. Mother reaches for note cards tucked in her sleeve, actually pulls out note cards. Nova, we understand you're upset about the necklace. She begins, reading directly from the first card. Family traditions are important, but they also evolve with each generation. I remain standing while they sit, a subtle power shift that makes Father check his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. We want you to have this, Lydia says, her voice carrying the rehearsed quality of a student reciting memorized lines. Inside the bag rests a delicate silver bracelet with a single sapphire. Grandmother's bracelet, the piece she wore to garden parties and casual gatherings, not the necklace reserved for milestone celebrations and family portraits. It's also an heirloom. Father explains, his tone suggesting I should be grateful for this consolation prize. We thought you might appreciate having something from your grandmother. Mother flips to her second note card. We hope this helps you understand that you're still valued in this family, especially with Lydia's engagement announcement coming this weekend. Her what? The words slip out before I can catch them. Richard proposed last month, Lydia says, twisting the diamond ring I hadn't noticed until now. We're announcing it at Sunday brunch. Father leans forward. This stubbornness of yours could cast a shadow over Lydia's moment. Is that what you want? The familiar guilt trip settles around my shoulders like an old, ill-fitting coat. I shrug it off. I have something to show you, I say, retrieving the leather-bound journal from my desk drawer. The pages fall open naturally to a passage marked with a faded ribbon. Grandmother left this to me when I turned 21. Mother's eyes widen as I begin reading aloud. April 1996. Today I showed Nova my sapphire necklace. She traced each stone with such reverence, asking about the women who wore it before me. I explained our tradition, how it passes to the firstborn daughter as a symbol of her responsibility to preserve family history. She promised to keep the tradition when her time comes. I placed the journal on the coffee table, then add a small envelope. This was tucked inside. The photograph shows 8-year-old me wearing the necklace, stones too large against my child-sized collarbones, grandmother's hands steadying it from behind. On the back, in her elegant script, for Nova Elizabeth, my firstborn granddaughter, when she turns 30, a tradition unbroken since 1896. You deliberately hid this, Mother whispers, her note cards forgotten on her lap. I found it 2 weeks after my 21st birthday. In the drawer where Grandmother told me to look, I maintain eye contact with each of them in turn. You knew. All of you. The necklace suits Lydia better, Father insists, but his voice lacks conviction. This isn't about the necklace anymore, I say. I don't need your approval. I needed your love, and that was always conditional. I retrieve the bracelet from its bag and extend it toward them. I won't accept partial inclusion in this family. Either I matter as much as Lydia, or I don't matter at all. You're being dramatic, Mother says, but her fingers tremble as she gathers her note cards. You could at least pretend to be happy for me, Lydia snaps, mask slipping. You're ruining everything just like you always do. Always do? I echo. Tell me, Lydia, when have I ever ruined anything for you? Her eyes drop to the photograph. I knew about the tradition, she admits quietly. I've always known. Hi. And you said nothing. The betrayal cuts deeper coming from her. Why would I? She gestures around my condo. Look at all you have. You've never needed anything from us. I needed to be seen, I say, voice steady despite the ache in my chest. I'm not rejecting you. I'm rejecting how you've treated me. They leave in a flurry of half-hearted apologies and promises to talk about this later. The bracelet remains on my coffee table, unwanted. 2 days pass before Margaret calls with news from her cousin who works at Mother's salon. They're saying your mother asked Lydia to return the necklace. And? The question that matters isn't whether I'll get the necklace, but whether I still want what it represents. Lydia refused. Margaret reports. But your Aunt Caroline took your side, said your grandmother would be heartbroken. I thank her and hang up, staring at my email when a new message appears from Sullivan and Associates' grandmother's attorneys. The subject line reads, Secondary Trust Access, 30th Birthday Provision. I click it open, heart hammering against my ribs as I read the first line. In accordance with Elizabeth Mitchell's final wishes, the secondary trust becomes accessible to Nova Elizabeth Mitchell on her 30th birthday, the 18th of September, 2025. 6 months later, the sunlight streams through the bay windows of my condo as I arrange platters of finger sandwiches on the kitchen island. The sound of jazz floats from the speakers, Ella Fitzgerald, grandmother's favorite. My birthday celebration looks nothing like the formal affairs Mother orchestrated each year, with their precisely folded napkins and polite rehearsed conversation. Need any help? Margaret asks, appearing with a bottle of champagne. She places it in the ice bucket without waiting for my answer, comfortable in my space in a way my blood relatives never were. Just finished, I say, straightening up and surveying the spread with satisfaction rather than anxiety. For the first time, I'm not fretting about whether my contributions will be deemed adequate. The doorbell chimes. Dr. Wilson arrives first, bearing a potted orchid and a warm smile. I introduce her to the others as my therapist and friend, the words flowing naturally. No one flinches or exchanges concerned glances, just acceptance. To Nova. Margaret raises her glass an hour later, surrounded by faces that light up when I enter a room. Who taught me that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary? I. The courier arrives during dessert. The package bears Lydia's handwriting, unmistakable in its looping elegance. Inside, nestled in velvet, lies the Mitchell family necklace, 5 sapphires gleaming against sterling silver. A note accompanies it. This belongs with you. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. 6 months ago, this moment would have validated every hurt feeling, every suspicion of injustice. Now, I run my finger along the delicate chain and feel something unexpected compassion. For the tradition, for Lydia, even for my parents, trapped in patterns they inherited. I don't clasp it around my neck. Instead, I place it carefully in the glass display case on my bookshelf, next to my law school diploma and the seashell collection. Grandmother and I gathered the summer I turned 8. You're not going to wear it? Dr. Wilson asks, observing my movement with interest. It's part of my history, I answer, but it doesn't define my future. Doctor. The evening winds down to an intimate gathering. Margaret, Dr. Wilson, and 2 colleagues who've become friends after hearing my full story without judgment. Margaret refills our glasses. To choosing your family, she says, and choosing your worth. We clink glasses as rain begins to patter against the windows. The sound feels cleansing, renewal washing away decades of seeking approval I never received. The following morning, I finalize the paperwork for the Nova Mitchell Foundation, dedicated to supporting first-generation college students. The grant applications are stacked on my coffee table, young people forging paths without family blueprints to follow. I unfold the architect's plans for renovating grandmother's cottage, left specifically to me in a separate will I never knew existed until my 30th birthday. The property will house weekend mentorship programs starting next spring. As I arrange my grandmother's necklace in its new place of honor, I place beside it a framed photograph, grandmother and 8-year-old me on the cottage porch, her hand on my shoulder, both of us beaming into the camera. I wonder if some traditions are worth preserving while others need breaking. Should we maintain family legacies regardless of pain, or is creating new traditions sometimes the greatest form of respect for the past? What family traditions have you chosen to keep or leave behind? The sapphires catch the morning light, casting blue reflections across my living room wall. They no longer represent what I lack, but rather what I'm building, a legacy defined not by birth, but by choice.